Julian Newman. Julian Newman's story began before most kids had even mastered a layup. At just 11 years old, he was running varsity offenses and dropping double-digit assists against players 4 or 5 years older. A highlight reel of him crossing up defenders went viral, racking up millions of views and putting him on talk shows while most kids his age were still in middle school. He totaled more than 6,000 points in high school, good enough to rank 4th all-time nationally, and his name was buzzing on every mixtape channel. But that buzz never translated into real recruiting traction. Not a single Division I program offered him a scholarship, a shocking turn given his fame. Instead, he went to Bethesda University, a tiny school far from the national spotlight. In his debut, he went scoreless, missing all 6 of his shots in a brutal blowout loss. His story became a cautionary tale. Viral stardom can build hype, but it doesn't guarantee a real basketball future. LiAngelo Ball. Part of the famous Chino Hills Ball brother trio, LiAngelo Ball was a scoring machine in high school. He averaged more than 30 points per game as a senior, including a ridiculous 72-point night, leading his team to a perfect 35-0 record and a mythical national title. The hype looked unstoppable, and the Ball brand was on fire. Yet his recruiting stock was far weaker than LaMelo's or Lonzo's. He signed with UCLA, but his career never even started after a highly publicized shoplifting arrest during a team trip to China. Suspended indefinitely, he left school without playing a single minute. Attempts to revive his career overseas and in the Junior Basketball Association produced eye-popping numbers, but scouts dismissed the level of competition. He bounced through G League rosters and short training camp deals, yet never logged an NBA appearance. With the dream slipping away, LiAngelo pivoted into music, signing a massive deal and releasing tracks that went viral. Basketball closed its chapter, but the spotlight stayed. Emoni Bates. Few high school players in recent memory generated as much hype as Emoni Bates. As a freshman, he averaged nearly 30 points per game, and by his sophomore year, he was dropping over 32 nightly, earning a spot on the cover of Sports Illustrated as a future superstar. He was projected as the next #1 pick before even finishing high school, but reality hit hard at Memphis, where he became the youngest player in Division I basketball at just 17. Instead of dominance, his numbers cratered, averaging fewer than 10 points and struggling with injuries. A transfer to Eastern Michigan brought flashes of the old scoring power, nearly 20 points per game, but efficiency issues and poor shot selection kept scouts skeptical. Off-court troubles, including suspensions tied to legal drama, damaged his reputation further. Draft night confirmed the doubts when Cleveland grabbed him late in the second round. A few NBA highlights showed promise, but a meniscus injury reminded everyone how fragile his path really was. Mikey Williams. Mikey Williams had everything a modern basketball prodigy could want: scoring dominance, viral mixtapes, and more than 5 million followers before his 18th birthday. He once scored 77 points in a single high school game, breaking records and making national headlines. His name was so hot that Puma gave him a groundbreaking deal as a teenager, the first high school player to sign with the brand. A commitment to Memphis looked like the next step to NBA stardom, but everything unraveled after an arrest connected to a firearm incident. Although charges were later reduced, the damage to his reputation was significant. He never played a game for Memphis, instead transferring to UCF, where his production dipped to just 5 points per game in limited minutes. His efficiency plummeted, and the explosive scoring talent of his mixtape days seemed gone. A move to Sacramento State gave him a fresh start, but far from the spotlight. From viral sensation to long shot underdog, Mikey's road back to the league looked steep. Harry Giles. Harry Giles was once the #1 recruit in the country, a can't-miss prospect with the perfect blend of size, agility, and skill. As a junior, he dominated at Oak Hill, averaging nearly 24 points and more than 12 rebounds, and scouts were convinced he was the next great big man. But injuries told a different story. He tore his ACL in high school, then suffered additional knee problems that limited his explosiveness. By the time he got to Duke, expectations were sky high, but he barely made an impact, averaging under 4 points in just 11 minutes per game. Even then, Sacramento took him 20th overall, betting on his upside. But Giles missed his entire rookie season recovering and never found consistency. Brief flashes with the Kings showed promise, yet more setbacks followed. Surgeries piled up, and his NBA role shrank year after year. He eventually turned to overseas opportunities, trying to prove he still had something left, but the dominant Giles never reappeared. Skal Labissière. Skal Labissiere had scouts dreaming of Anthony Davis comparisons during his high school rise. At 6 feet 10 inches with a 7 feet 2 inches wingspan and soft touch, he looked like the future of the NBA. He put up gaudy numbers, averaging 26 points, 12 rebounds, and 4 blocks, and was considered one of the top 2 recruits in his class. But at Kentucky, he quickly fell out of favor. Despite arriving as a projected top pick, he averaged less than 7 points and 3 rebounds, losing his starting role. Even John Calipari criticized him, saying he lacked the toughness needed to dominate. Draft night still brought hope when Sacramento traded for him late in the first round, but his NBA story was more role player than star. He averaged around 9 points during his best stretch, but never broke out, bouncing from the Kings to the Blazers before fading into G League contracts. The unicorn label never stuck. Instead, Skal became another story of wasted potential and what could have been. Cam Reddish. Cam Reddish entered Duke ranked 3rd in his class, joining Zion Williamson and RJ Barrett in one of the most hyped college trios ever. At 6 feet 8 inches with fluid ball handling and a smooth shooting stroke, he looked like the prototype NBA wing. But the production never matched the promise. He averaged just over 13 points while shooting under 36%, disappearing in big games and drawing criticism for being too passive. Still, his raw tools got him drafted 10th overall by Atlanta. His rookie season showed glimpses of why scouts believed, but inconsistency became the theme of his career. His role shrank with every stop, from the Hawks to the Knicks, then Portland, and finally the Lakers. He averaged just 8 points across 6 seasons while shooting under 40%, a tough reality for a once hyped star. Reddish had all the tools, but never put them together. By the end, he went from potential franchise cornerstone to depth chart afterthought, a slide that shocked everyone who once believed. Thon Maker. Thon Maker's rise was unlike anything basketball had seen in years. A 7-footer with guard-like skills, he was labeled a unicorn before the term went mainstream. Born in South Sudan, raised in Australia, and eventually moving to Canada, his global journey only added to the intrigue. He averaged more than 22 points, 13 rebounds, and 4 blocks in high school, drawing headlines as the next big thing. Thanks to a loophole, he bypassed college and entered the 2016 draft straight from prep school, becoming the first high school player selected in over a decade. Milwaukee took him 10th overall, and summer league flashes fueled the hype. But when the real game started, he struggled to adjust. Over 3 seasons with the Bucks, he averaged just 4 points per game and lacked the strength to hold his own inside. Short stints in Detroit and Cleveland followed before he moved overseas. He's since won titles abroad, but the NBA dream faded fast. Maker had the tools, but never the development. Cassius Stanley. Cassius Stanley came out of Sierra Canyon as one of the most athletic guards in the nation. His mixtapes were filled with high-flying dunks and highlight moments that had gyms buzzing. Averaging 17 points per game as a senior and earning 5-star status, he chose Duke, where fans expected instant fireworks. He started 29 games, shot an efficient 47% from the field, and made the ACC All-Freshman team. But NBA scouts were cautious, labeling him raw despite his obvious athletic gifts. When he declared for the 2020 draft, he slipped all the way to the 54th pick. A 2-way deal with Indiana followed, but his minutes were limited, and his 3-point shot collapsed to under 24%. Short stints with Detroit and in the G League offered more opportunities, but never consistent success. Overseas contracts soon replaced NBA chances, and today he plays in France, still dunking, but far from the spotlight. His path reminds everyone how fragile hype can be. But first, only cool people are subscribed to this channel, so hit that subscribe button before we go any further. Josh Selby. Josh Selby's career looked unstoppable during his prep days. He averaged more than 30 points, 7 assists, and 5 rebounds in high school, winning McDonald's All-American honors and dominating the dunk contest. He was considered the #1 recruit by rivals, giving Kansas one of the flashiest guards in the nation. But it all went sideways quickly. He missed 9 games due to eligibility issues tied to an advisor linked with Carmelo Anthony, and when he finally suited up, his rhythm was gone. Across 26 games at Kansas, he averaged under 8 points with streaky shooting and inconsistent play. Despite the struggles, Memphis drafted him 49th overall. His NBA run lasted just 38 games with a scoring average of 2 points per night. A Summer League co-MVP title with Damian Lillard teased upside, but it didn't translate. From there, Selby's career turned into a whirlwind of G League and overseas stops across Asia, Europe, and South America. His hype never matched reality. Romeo Langford. Romeo Langford looked like Indiana's chosen son. Scoring over 3,000 career points in high school, he was ranked among the top 5 players nationally and became a McDonald's All-American. His decision to stay home for college made him a local hero before he even touched the court. As a freshman at Indiana, he delivered over 16 points per game, playing through a torn thumb ligament, showing toughness and natural scoring ability. But scouts noticed rough shooting stretches, and questions grew about his three-point consistency. Still, Boston picked him 14th overall in the 2019 draft. What followed was a disappointing run. In 3 years with the Celtics, he never averaged more than 5 points and missed significant time with wrist surgery. San Antonio gave him a shot, but he failed to stand out, and Utah didn't even keep him for opening night. Soon he was in the G League, then France, fighting to stay relevant. Langford had the size and smooth game, but his development stalled. Seventh Woods. Seventh Woods was once crowned the best 14-year-old basketball player in America after a mixtape of his dunks and crossovers went viral. By the time he hit high school, he had racked up more than 2,000 points, won South Carolina Mr. Basketball, and added a gold medal with Team USA. At 6 feet 2 inches with explosive athleticism, he was expected to bring that same fire to North Carolina. Instead, his role was small on a title-winning Tar Heels team, averaging just over 1 point per game as a freshman. A stress fracture slowed him further, and even with more minutes in later seasons, he couldn't break out. Transfers to South Carolina and Morgan State gave him starting roles, but the numbers stayed modest, under 5 points per game with shaky efficiency. Overseas, he had better moments, like a 22-point game in Ireland's Cup final, but the NBA never came calling. Woods' career proves how tricky it is to turn viral hype into professional consistency. Cliff Alexander. Cliff Alexander's rise through Chicago high school basketball was nothing short of dominant. He posted triple-doubles that looked like video game stat lines, including 30 points, 24 rebounds, and 15 blocks in one night. Ranked as high as number 2 nationally, he won Naismith Prep Player of the Year and Mr. Basketball USA while drawing comparisons to Amari Stoudemire. Hype surrounded his move to Kansas, where he was named preseason co-freshman of the year, but it all unraveled quickly. After just 28 games, an NCAA investigation ended his season, and a knee injury during pre-draft workouts pushed him further down draft boards. Going undrafted in 2015, he signed with Portland, but barely saw the floor, logging 8 total games. G League stints and 10-day contracts followed, but nothing stuck. He later played in France, Germany, Korea, Lebanon, and Venezuela, bouncing from team to team. Despite elite physical tools, his skill set never developed enough for NBA staying power. Jalen Hands. Jalen Hands brought flair and athleticism to UCLA, but his journey to the pros didn't unfold as planned. A 5-star recruit, he made waves in high school by averaging nearly 30 points and dazzling in dunk contests. At UCLA, he came off the bench as a freshman, averaging just under 10 points while battling a foot injury. By his sophomore year, he was the full-time starter, raising his numbers to over 14 points per game while leading the Pac-12 in assists. His confidence and bounce had fans believing he was ready for the next level, but the NBA wasn't as convinced. He was drafted 56th overall, far from where 5-star guards expect to land. Rights were traded to Brooklyn, but he never cracked an NBA roster. Instead, he found his way into the G League and then overseas. Stops in Serbia, Germany, Belgium, and Greece showed flashes of his talent, but the consistency never arrived. Hands had the tools, but the league moved on. Nico Mannion. Nico Mannion carried enormous expectations thanks to his family background and his high school dominance in Arizona. At Pinnacle High School, he routinely scored between 20 and 30 points, earned McDonald's All-American honors, and built a reputation as one of the sharpest playmakers in his class. At Arizona, he started every game as a freshman, averaging 14 points and more than 5 assists, but questions about his athleticism and shooting percentages persisted. Draft night confirmed the skepticism when Golden State selected him 48th overall in 2020. In limited NBA minutes, he averaged 4 points, but in the G League, he exploded for more than 19 points and nearly 7 assists per game. Overseas, his career blossomed. He starred for Virtus Bologna in Italy, helped them win the Euro Cup, and later played in Spain. By 2024, he signed with Olimpia Milano, averaging over 20 points per game in domestic play. While the NBA never panned out, Mannion carved out a strong European career. Kyrie Walker. Kyrie Walker's mixtapes made him a household name before he ever stepped onto a college floor. A 5-star recruit and one of the most athletic wings of his class, he averaged 31 points as a freshman at Moreau Catholic and landed commitments from top programs. But instead of choosing the NCAA route, he joined Chameleon BX, an experimental pre-draft training program that left him without any competitive game film. When the 2021 draft arrived, He was invisible on scout radars and went undrafted. He tried to bounce back in the G League, playing for the Capital City Go-Go, where he averaged modest numbers in limited minutes. Overseas, he found more rhythm, dropping 18 points per game in Greece and even capturing a Canadian League title. His most surprising stop came in Mongolia, proof of just how far he had to travel to keep his career alive. Walker's path shows how skipping traditional development can derail even elite talents. If you like this video, consider watching this next one, which YouTube thinks you are going to really love.